Hi, welcome to the Test Kitchen in Barb's Kitchen Center. My name is Celeste. Today our friends at Creuset have sent us a cast iron skillet, and they tell me you can make an amazing pizza in this cast iron skillet. So we're going to give it a try. The very first thing we have to do is heat up our oven to 475 degrees. My oven I'm going to heat up to 500 degrees because the last time I used it I put in an oven thermometer and I noticed it was 25 degrees out. So if you think your oven isn't heating up to the temperature you would like it to heat up, throw in an oven thermometer and find out what temperature you're actually getting to. Because things like that make a huge difference, especially if you're with baking. Would just mean a longer cooking time for my pizza, but for baking it is really important that you have the absolute right temperature. So because we want to mimic a pizza oven, the skillet is going to go into the oven and it's going to get screaming hot by the time we put our pizza into it. So, pan is in the oven heating. The next thing we're going to start with is our sauce. So we need about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is the simplest sauce in the world, and this is a really easy come home from work thing to make. If you've stored your pizza dough in the fridge or the freezer, you'll need to get it out and have it at least warm enough to work with. But you can take that out as soon as you get home, get your skillet in the oven, and start making this sauce, and then everything will be ready. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Looks like more like 1, so I'll put in another one. You will need 2 cloves of garlic, and I like to cut my garlic as opposed to mince my garlic. Sometimes garlic can get very bitter if you mince it really fine, especially if you're going to be sautéing it. So if you just chop it up, it tends to stay tends to stay a little sweeter, for lack of a better phrase, and doesn't get quite so bitter. And you can slice it into little pieces, or you can leave it into big chunks, depending on how much you like garlic. And once it's cooked in the sauce, if you bite into it, it won't be like biting into a mouthful of raw garlic. Actually, I'm going to heat up my oil a little bit before I throw my garlic in, because it'll make it quicker to get a nice color on my garlic. So I'm just going to set it to medium-high. So if you have a stove like mine with the coil hubs or a glass top stove, medium-high is probably about 7 on your stove. If you have a gas stove, you'll know, it will tell you high, medium, and low. Next, I'm going to open my can of tomatoes. You're going to want to get a good quality tomato. If you have an Italian friend, go talk to your Italian friend about tomatoes. They can talk for hours about tomatoes and where they should come from and how they should taste. So exciting watching me open a can of tomatoes. Although this is a very cool can opener. This can opener is from Kuhn & Nagel, and it separates the glue from the lid, so there's no sharp edges. And if something were to happen, if the phone were to ring right now, I could put the lid back on and put it in the fridge and go deal with my phone call. So it's very cool that way. So, all right, garlic. Garlic first. So let's put garlic into my pot. Don't want any of my garlic to run away. There we go. So you just want the garlic to start browning. So we'll let that sit for a few minutes. Now I need to work with my pizza dough. So we taught you in an earlier video how to make the pizza dough. So this is the pizza dough actually that we have made and stored in the fridge for 2 or 3 days. Because of the flour we use in it, the longer you store it, it'll develop a flavor of its own. You don't want to store it till it starts crawling out of the fridge on its own, of course. It will freeze. It won't freeze for 6 months, but if you put it in the freezer for a week or two, up to a month, you should still be able to make a decent enough pizza dough out of it. Pizza dough should be nice and stretchy and elasticy. So, okay, I will grease my board here so I can start working it out. Tony would really like me to flip it in the air, but the roof in here isn't that high, so...
Spin it! Spin it!
So that's not going to happen, because then it would get stuck to the roof, and that would be the end of this video, and no one would want to eat the pizza. Although I am sending this pizza home with Tony, so if we had to peel it off the roof, I'm not sure he'd mind. So I want to make sure it's about 30 centimeters across, which is the size of my pan. I want to make sure I don't get it so thin in spots that I've created holes. And I don't want to forget about my garlic, because you do not want your garlic to burn. There we go. Ooh, you can smell the garlic now. So the garlic has just started to brown. I will show you. So I will add my tomatoes. And they're whole peeled tomatoes. And this particular variety is packed with basil, just a little bit of basil, because that is a lovely flavor with your tomatoes. So we will just let them stew on the stove for a while, and I will break up the tomatoes over the course of their cooking until when I tried this the other day, everybody mocked me for looking for a ruler, but don't ever feel guilty about busting out a ruler and making sure that what you're making is the right size. Because once we take the pan out of the oven, you want to get it into the pan as soon as possible so you get a nice crispy bottom. So, rulers are good things. Like I told my husband, not all of us hold 8 inches in our hands every morning, so some of us are more challenged when it comes to judging how far things are or how big things are. Okay, so I will moisten my hands with the olive oil. I will slice up my cheese and get it ready to go. So I'm not going to grate it up. I'm just going to put it on in big slices. It is a high quality mozzarella that is specifically made for pizzas, and it'll melt into lovely puddles on your pizza. So, yeah, well, I'll do one more. Okay, check my sauce again, and just continue to stir it. Okay. Get a couple of tasting spoons out. So it's just cooking down with what's in it. And it tastes a little bit acidy right now and kind of flat. So to enhance the flavor, I will add a teaspoon of salt. And I will actually, put in a teaspoon of sweetness just to balance the acidity a little bit. I know it sounds weird and a little counterintuitive, but tomatoes are actually a fruit, so adding a little sugar to them is never a bad thing. So I'll continue to let that stew. I will continue to make sure, because of all the gluten in the pizza dough, it's going to spring back on you a little bit, and that's okay. That's good. It means you have good dough. So, while we're waiting for the oven to warm up, we'll take a little break. All right, our oven has finally hit temperature. So I'm going to pull my skillet out. My sauce is nicely reduced, and I have my cheese, and I actually have some lovely back bacon that is quite lean, and I did trim off what little fat there was, just so the pizza doesn't get super greasy. Because I haven't pre-cooked it, because the temperature of the oven, if I pre-cook the bacon will get way too crispy. So I'll pull out my screaming hot skillet and recognize that my oven mitt is on upside down, and that was a little warm. It is very, very hot. We'll take my pre-stretched pizza dough. I will lay it in the pan, and you can hear it sizzle. All right, now I have my tomato sauce that is all lovely and reduced, so it's nice and thick now. I have the spoon with a hole in it so it won't spread well, so we'll take a spoon without a hole in it and put some sauce down. You can see the bits of garlic in there. It smells super good. I tasted it, and it has a nice sweetness to it. So it doesn't take much, just a wee bit of sugar. The tomatoes have broken down. I've helped them break down, but if you like big pieces, leave big pieces. All right, now I have my cheese. This is a good mozzarella that is specifically for pizza, and it looks like I'm putting it on in big chunks, but trust me, it'll melt lovely. Whoop. You know what? I'm going to put my bacon on first, so that the cheese melts over the bacon. There we go. And lots of cheese, little cheese left over for a snack later. And now I will pop this back into the oven for 12 minutes. And then Tony will have pizza for supper tonight. Leave the oven at the same temperature. Back in. All right, our pizza is ready. Shut off the alarm. Make sure I have my oven mitts on the right hands. And fresh out of the oven, one pizza. Now if you chose to, you can dress it with a little truffle oil, just to add a little extra flavor. Put some basil on top, parsley, whatever other fresh green you want. Pop it out of the pan, take it to the table, and serve. Thanks for joining us for pizza class. Through the generosity of Creuset, they have given us this skillet to give away to anybody who comes to our pizza class, which we will be doing in-house in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And if you would like to enter to win this gorgeous Creuset skillet in flame, please send us your email address to classes, CLASSES, at barbskitchen.com and put skillet in the subject line. Thanks for joining us.